Next we have Karen Stefiszyn, Human Rights Specialist with UNIFEM. And if you could talk to us about how CEDAW has been helpful in places, other countries where UNIFEM has worked, and particularly if you could talk about its usefulness with regard to ending violence against women, that would be great.
Hello. Is this on?
Yes. Hold it close.
Okay, is it on? You can hear me? All right. I thought this would be a great fora, as Lenora mentioned, to highlight how CEDAW has actually made an impact around the world. And also, I think Charlotte said it as well, that CEDAW is real. There was a time when it was perceived as an aspirational document, words on paper, but what difference does this make to women around the world? And 30 years later, we can really see that it has an enormous impact. And for those that aren't actively engaging with it, it's in fact an opportunity lost, I feel. And in recognition of this shift that CEDAW has taken from the aspirational to the real, let's say, UNIFEM thought that the 30th anniversary provided a great opportunity to compile knowledge of the impact of CEDAW. So knowing that there were stories all over the world and success stories, UNIFEM thought it would be a great idea to gather these stories and document them, and we're in the midst of creating a database of these stories, which will be on our website. And we've started it, in fact. So if you go to our website on the Human Rights page, you'll see under the CEDAW 30th Anniversary link, Success Stories. And that's just the beginnings of this database. And we think it's important to compile this knowledge so that others can see just what CEDAW can do, the difference it can make. And I thought I would highlight a few of these examples from around the world that where CEDAW has made a difference. One that comes to mind is in Kenya, in the courts, in fact. It's where this is evident as well in other countries where you have plural legal systems. So customary law is in effect along with the national law. And we found in Kenya in two separate cases, one in 2005 and one in 2008, where they were cases relating to inheritance. And it was argued that, according to customary law, women couldn't inherit land. And this was challenged in the court. And in both the cases, the court overruled the initial judgment using CEDAW, citing CEDAW in the court, in fact, to say that despite the existence of customary law, where there's discrimination, CEDAW takes precedence. And those were monumental precedent-setting cases. And there's a lot more work of that happening also because of the work of the International Association of Women Judges, which UNIFEM supports. I'm not sure if there's anyone from that network in the room, but they're doing wonderful work training judges and magistrates around the world on international standards, including CEDAW, so that they can use those in the courts to make those sorts of judgments that are going to set precedents and really demonstrate that CEDAW prevails and non-discrimination is the law. That's one example, those two cases in Kenya. Another one is in the Solomon Islands. UNIFEM did a legislative indicator study where they looked at 9 Pacific Island states and looked at all of their laws in relation to CEDAW, and then developed over 100 indicators on how you can assess laws in relation to CEDAW. And out of that study, it's been a stimulus for law reform in the Pacific Islands. And one example of that is with the law of evidence in the Solomon Islands, which in 2009 was reformed to enable women to better access justice, particularly in rape cases, whereby under the previous law, the cautionary rule was in place. A highly discriminatory provision in the law, which meant that, in essence, a woman's word was to be taken with caution. A woman is not meant to be trusted. She's probably lying. So they've now removed that from the law and made other important reforms as well to better enable women to access justice there. And again, that was based on the standards of CEDAW. So it was based on taking the law and looking at it in comparison to CEDAW and seeing where the discrepancies were and addressing that in order to comply better with CEDAW. That's also been done in Sierra Leone, where there's new laws, again in 2009, on inheritance, divorce, and violence against women. They've enacted those 3 laws, and what really shows the impact with CEDAW is those laws were passed after the CEDAW committee said in their concluding observations to Sierra Leone that they need to make reform in those 3 areas the highest priority. And after hearing that from the CEDAW committee, they did speed up that process and reform the 3 laws, and, enacted in 2009, a law on violence against women, inheritance, and divorce. And all 3 of those laws are aligned with the CEDAW principles. So you'll see the CEDAW principles in all 3 of those laws. Of course, the challenge remains in implementation, which is a huge challenge. So we have those laws, which is a great first step, and UNIFEM will now continue supporting the work in Sierra Leone to implement those laws, which would involve, of course, training the judiciary, law enforcement officials to be aware of those laws, and also to empower women to claim their rights, to raise the awareness of women of those laws as well, so they can access justice under those laws. There's numerous examples. I encourage you to rather look at our website and keep checking back as our database develops, but I won't take up too much time so that we can leave time for discussion. Thanks.